Hi, I'm Elizabeth Rutland, and I am the Business and Property Development Specialist for Downtown Goldsboro.
And I'm Julie Metz. I'm the Downtown Development Director for the City of Goldsboro. And we're here today to talk about a new incentive program to benefit downtown called the Build a Better Downtown program. There's 3 categories under this program that will provide funding and assistance to for 3 certain different types of projects that are all crafted to meet the current needs of downtown. Essentially, those are to support appropriate building improvement projects, to protect our historic assets, to increase residential density downtown, to reactivate square footage in downtown that has either been vacant or underutilized for years, and encourage more job growth in downtown. So these categories are intended to help spur activity in those areas.
Yeah. We want to let you know that this is a very competitive grant process. It's reimbursable and matching investments. So you do apply before you start on your project, and then we reimburse you once you've met all of our qualifications. There are 3 different categories. There's the Building Rehabilitation Grant, the Exterior Building Improvement Grant, and the Business Development Grant. Each category has its own unique measurements, and our grant committee will look at all of those requirements and grade your application accordingly. The applicants will be reviewed based on individual quality, impact on downtown, their competitiveness, and then the availability of funds. This fiscal year, we have $10,000 for all 3 of the grants that I already stated. So as we stated already, it is a competitive process. All applicants must be willing to give at least 10 hours of their time to give back to downtown, whether it's through volunteering at one of our events like Community Action Day or serving on a committee, something that will go towards the betterment of downtown.
Also, just some objectives, I briefly mentioned them, but we want to encourage quality, unique, and appropriate building improvements with this program, encourage residential development, transform underutilized spaces and buildings, support investments that create jobs and job growth, and support quality businesses that are investing in themselves and make downtown a better destination.
So now we're going to talk about the exterior building improvement category. So the objective to this is to incentivize quality and appropriate designs that will add or enhance to downtown's appeal and benefit of businesses or a building.
Yes. Talk about a little bit the eligibility requirements for this program. There are more that's available in the brochure and the application, but I just wanted to highlight some of the main ones. The property must be located within the municipal service tax district. There's a map that shows you the area, but if you have any questions, you can just call our office and we'll let you know if it's in or not. It has to be a for-profit business and or offer retail sales, generate sales and use tax, so one or the other, or all of them. Any of your prior expenses before applying and being awarded are not eligible to be part of your match. And you must demonstrate that the project will add economic value to the building and your business and enhance downtown overall. Also, applicants that have received a building rehabilitation grant in the past 5 years are ineligible for the exterior building improvement category.
So now eligibility. To be eligible, you need to have a private investment at least $500. Projects that negatively impact historic character are ineligible. Only facades highly visible from the street are eligible. So if you want to increase a facade, say that's pointing towards the alley, we can't guarantee that that would be funded. And then also there are 2 facade limit per building. So if the building's on the corner, you could then apply for the facade facing both streets.
And the award is a reimbursable grant. So you have to pay for the project. You have to, at the end of your project, demonstrate that you did what you said you were going to do in the application, and then request the return of the grant amount in the form of a check, and we'll get that to you. 30% of your costs are eligible for a grant with a maximum amount of $1,000 per facade. And as Elizabeth mentioned, you can only have 2 facades per project per building. So the maximum amount is $2,000 that's available, $1,000 per facade, or 30% of your project costs.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about what we're going to be considering when we review your application. The first is the amount of private investment. This is the largest weight item that we consider. The historic preservation activities and the impact on the building. Next, the number of jobs that were created or retained through your renovation or your curb appeal improvement. The status or history of the building and the impact you're making potentially on that historical structure. Next, the impact on downtown's overall curb appeal. There's a lot of properties, unfortunately, that cause a lot of blight for downtown, and we want to enhance those better and make all of downtown look good. Also, the use or employment of local artists to complete your project. There are several people who might include a mural or have things painted on the front, and we encourage that. Also, the other factors that we'll consider is whether you're a minority-owned building or minority contractors and construction contractors that would be used. Next, the funding available. We mentioned before there's only so much funding per year, so we have to consider how much funding we have and how much money you would be requesting. And then last, any other information that you feel like would impact our decision and make your application stronger.
That's right. Also, you know, I've mentioned that there's ineligible and eligible activities. A complete listing is available in the brochure and in the application. We don't try to inundate you with information in this tutorial, but I encourage you to look at the application and read it thoroughly. There is one criteria that's associated with this program, and that is that the project must be completed within 180 days of the award. So again, we're looking for projects that are going to be implemented quickly, so our investment can get out there and benefit downtown as quickly as possible. Also in the application in the brochure, there's some information about the process that you can expect pre-award and post-award. There's some information in there that might be useful to you.
There's a few notes that we want to make sure, again, that you're aware of. Funding is limited per fiscal year. Our fiscal year actually runs from July 1 through June 30th. So if you apply towards the beginning, you have more likeliness that we'll actually have funding available. Awards are considered investments. We're investing in downtown, and we're also using taxpayers' money. So we take this job very seriously because we want to make sure that that tax-paying money is invested in properties that will really benefit overall downtown and our community the best. Like we said, it's competitive, and we reviewed those items that we would be considering when reviewed your application. Incomplete applications will not be considered. If you submit something that's incomplete, we'll deny you, but something else that you need to know is that if your application is not awarded, you cannot submit. So it's very important that you submit something that is thorough, is complete, answers all of our questions the first time around, so we can make sure that you're not automatically disqualified.
Right. Also, the applications are reviewed quarterly. Beginning, their first one that's coming up is July 1, October 1st, and then January 1st and April 1st, and they're all due by noon on those days, unless it falls on a holiday, and then we'd take it the next business day after. Just want to mention that staff, we are here. Elizabeth will probably be the primary point person for questions, but if she's not available, it'll be me, and I'll be helping out. So either one of us, we're here to help you, but I would just recommend that if you need some help, or if you want some time with us, some quality time with us, a staff of 3.5 with very active schedules and calendars. So just call ahead, and we'll be happy to work with your schedule and make an appointment so we can give you and dedicate the time that you need to help that process. Also, we want to go over some questions that we think that we can anticipate when you're reviewing these applications, and so we can go over some what we assume will be frequently asked questions.
So one of our questions that we probably get asked the most is, do so many part-time jobs equal a full-time job? Unfortunately, they don't. We go by the standards that are produced by the Department of Commerce. A full-time job is considered anything that's 35 hours or over. That doesn't mean that your part-time jobs won't be considered. So make sure that you do put in the total amount of part-time jobs and full-time jobs that would be added with the improvements that you're applying for, because even if you only have one full-time job and you have 20 part-times are much more competitive than, say, another application with fewer. Right,
but if the category you're applying for requires at least one full-time job, you have to have that and no amount of part-time jobs can equal up to that to make that minimum criteria.
Absolutely.
Another question is, can people apply for more than one category at a time?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
This is another question we get asked. Unfortunately, as we mentioned before, we only have $10,000 to give out. And so because of that, we ask that you pick the grant that you're most competitive at, and just give us your best application.
And then another question is, can the building owner apply for the building rehabilitation category and a business owner apply for the business development category? And the answer is yes, but each application must stand on its own and meet its own individual criteria, and you can't mesh both to be able to accredit for each application. So as long as each is meeting their minimum criteria, the answer is yes to that question. All right, another one?
Another question is, can an applicant phase a project and apply for phase 1 and later apply for phase 2? And the answer here is no. Once a person is awarded a loan or a grant under this program, they are no longer eligible for another one within the same project. Something else to consider is we give you so many days in which to complete your grant. And so because of this, we can't do it in phases, because we want to actually make sure that you are using the funds that are given within the fiscal year and using them immediately so they make an impact on downtown sooner rather than later.
One of the questions that we anticipate is under the categories under non-eligible activities. We state that alcohol or alcohol products are not eligible activities that we can support funding-wise. Somebody asked us if this would include refrigeration equipment. Is that?
So refrigeration is eligible for funding. Refrigeration could house so many things. It's not just alcohol. So that would be an eligible expense.
Just some advice to wrap it up, I think would be helpful. We just want to make sure you read all the contents of your appropriate grant category. There's a lot of useful information there. The brochure, and if you want the review score sheet, just call us and we'll be happy to get that to you. But I recommend that you thoroughly read all those contents and then call us if you have any questions before you really start the application process.
Yeah, and as we stated before, we're here to support you. If you want help with an application, please contact either of us or schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing your applications and making downtown better.
Yeah. And I'll also mention that although we are a great resource to help small businesses in downtown, but we have a great partner at the Wayne Community College Small Business Center, and they are experts at helping small businesses develop business plans, as well as provide all kinds of resources to help you in your endeavor. So we highly recommend that you contact our representative at the Small Business Center, and we'll be happy. If you don't know how to get a hold of them, we'll be happy to give you that information.
Absolutely.
If you have any questions, just call us. If you need any help, again, I'll just highly recommend that you call our office and schedule a time, and we'll be happy to sit down and meet with you.
Yeah, we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.